So this video is going to talk about graphing our absolute values. So when we do this, we have our standard form, whereas f of x equals a, absolute value of x minus h, plus k. The a is going to tell you your vertical stretch. Okay, it's going to tell you if it's steeper or more flat. The a is very similar to your slope on the right-hand side of your absolute value graph. On the left-hand side, it's going to be a little bit different. The h is the x-coordinate of your vertex. The h tells you whether the vertex is moving left or right. And when you think about it, you have to think about it with the opposite sign, because it does have that minus in the standard equation. And then k is the y value of your vertex, and it's going to tell you whether your graph has moved up or down. So when we think about the graphs, we always want to start with our parent functions. So on our parent function, our a is going to be 1, and our vertex is 0, 0. Okay? So we're going to start by plotting the point 0, 0, our vertex. And like I said a minute ago, the a gives you the slope on the right-hand side. So on the right-hand side, I'm going to go up with a slope of 1. So just cut through all the corners. Now, if I continued with the slope of 1 on the left-hand side, I'm going to end up in the negative section. And since this is f of x equals x, or f of x equals the absolute value of x, we know that all of our y values have to be positive for this. So it's going to end up actually having a slope of negative 1 on the left-hand side. So for absolute value, our parent function is going to have a graph that's in the shape of a V. It's important to know on this that in this graph, while the domain is all real numbers, our range is not all real numbers. In this example, our range is all real numbers greater than or equal to 0. So definitely pay attention to your range on your absolute value graphs. Alright, so again on this one, since there's nothing in front of the absolute value, our a is going to be 1, but our vertex here is a little bit different. Our vertex is going to be at positive 1, 3. So since our original equation had that minus sign in it, when I go to the vertex, it's going to be the opposite sign of what I actually see. So while in the equation it says minus 1, in your head you're thinking, oh, I should shift to the left one. I'm actually going to shift to the right one and then go up 3. So my vertex is at the point 1, 3. And then again, since my a tells me my slope, essentially, of this side, I'm going to go with a 1 slope all the way to the right, and on the left, it ends up being a negative 1 slope all the way to the left. And you can always spot check, just plug in some points and make sure that when you plug them into the equation, you get the same thing. So on this one, again, the domain is all real numbers. But the range is not all real numbers greater than or equal to 0. This time, our range goes until positive 3. So our range this time is going to be all real numbers greater than or equal to positive 3. Alright, so on this one we do actually have an a different than 1. Our a is 2, and our vertex, remember the x value, we're going to do the opposite sign of what we see, so negative 3, and then a positive 1. So I'm going to go ahead and plot my vertex at negative 3, 1. And this time, I need to have a slope of 2 on the right. So I'm going to make sure my slope is 2 on the right when I'm doing this. Obviously, your graphs will be slightly more accurate since you're using a pencil and not your finger on a touchscreen. Alright, and then on the left side, it's going to be a slope of negative 2. And there is our graph. Again, here you have to pay attention to that vertex to figure out your range. The domain is still all real numbers, but the range is going to be all real numbers greater than or equal to positive 1. Alright, for our last example, it has a negative sign out front, so we're going to end up having our absolute value open up upside down. So our vertex is going to be at 1, -4, and that's where I'm going to start plotting. All right, and on the right-hand side, I'm going to have a slope of -1/2. So if I draw my line with a slope of -1/2, and then on the left-hand side, it's going to end up having a slope of +1/2. So it's going to look like this. So on this one, again, our domain is all real numbers. Our range we have to be careful with, again, because it's not greater than or equal to. Our range is going to be all real numbers less than or equal to -4. So you should have some practice problems to work on. Go ahead and work on those, and if you have any questions, feel free to email me. Good luck!